Good morning, everyone. My name is Gwen Clemens. I'm the Managing Director of the King County Metro Contracted Services section. My team's programs include Access Paratransit Services, Community Access Transportation, and DART. Mobility services like commuter van programs, community van, ride sharing, and active transportation programs like SchoolPool and Safe Routes to School. It's my pleasure to welcome you, transportation, school, and student wellness practitioners and presenters, to this third annual SchoolPool Confluence. This is the first to be conducted on a virtual platform to meet our social and physical distancing norms due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Even with the uncertainty that the current healthcare crisis presents, I want to commend each of you for how you've pivoted and adjusted your strategies to meet the changing active transportation needs of residents in our region. The goal of today's Confluence is to share active and shared transportation approaches that support student and family needs now and in preparation for when students return to school campuses. We hope you will share resources with each other, brainstorm strategies, and join in growing our Washington State network of Safe Routes to Schools practitioners and advocates. The work you do is so important and appreciated. I sincerely hope that you will each enjoy the Confluence today, and I thank you for your participation.
Thank you, Gwen. Hello, my name is Kaylin Henley, and I'm a planner with Alta Planning and Design and the Assistant Project Manager for King County Metro's SchoolPool program. I use she and they pronouns. We have some great speakers and interactive components lined up for you today, and we hope that you will join in the discussions and chats as you are able. But before we dive in, let's cover some housekeeping items. First, we will keep everyone muted until it's time for discussion. However, we encourage you to use the chat box. We'll be using the chat box frequently today to ask for your responses and feedback and to share important links. To use the chat box, first find chat on your attendee bar, either along the top or bottom of your Zoom screen. And you can send your chat or question to all the participants by selecting everyone or specifically to the hosts, which includes Aaron David, Francisco Villa as our IT support, and myself. Please send tech questions to the host directly, as we will be monitoring questions as they arise and try to address them in each section. We also encourage you to be mindful if your video is either on or off, but either is fine with us. We encourage everyone to show their names and pronouns and affiliation if desired. So you can rename yourself by either hovering over your current name, clicking more, and then clicking rename to enter in your name, pronouns, and affiliation. Please also do this if you are dialing in over the phone. So for example, you can see my name is Kaylin Henley, she, they, Alta. If you dialed in by phone and are also connected on your computer, please make sure your audio is synced with your computer login in Zoom. We will use breakout groups, and syncing your audio will make sure that your connections don't get assigned to separate rooms. So we will have 2 occasions for these breakout groups. We already assigned you based on the back to school strategy you selected upon registering. You will automatically be placed into the breakout discussion group, but can leave by clicking Leave Breakout Room on your screen if you need additional support from the hosts. If you happen to register this morning after 8 a.m., I will need to manually assign you to a room, so don't worry, just hang tight with me. And lastly, the presentation component of the 2020 Confluence is being recorded. However, discussions and chats during the breakout groups will not be recorded. We will be taking notes on a shared Google Doc to share information from breakout groups with other groups. We will share the Google Doc link as soon as we go into breakout groups. We're recording so that those unable to attend today can still benefit from the knowledge sharing that we are providing each other. We know lots of folks are balancing work, childcare, teaching, and other items. So as we get started, since we can't share a physical space together, we'd like to know who all is joining us. So please type in the chat box where you are from and what your role or connection with Safe Routes to School is. And please feel free to chat that to everyone. So for those of you who just joined us, we are asking you to chat in the chat box where you're from and your role in connection with Safe Routes to School work is, as just a quick kind of test because we'll be using chat frequently today. So we got folks from Sammamish, from Safe Kids in Thurston, Tukwila School District, the city of Tukwila, Alta Planning, someone from, hey, east of the mountains in Spokane, Thurston Regional Planning Council, city of Tacoma, Tacoma Public Schools. This is great. Well, and Seattle Department of Transportation, Youth Education in Olympia, City of Bellevue. This is fantastic. Well, thank you all so much for joining us, and it's great to have representation from across the state. So during today's Confluence, we're going to provide an overview of the King County Metro SchoolPool program, learn about the emerging Washington State Safe Routes to School network and exciting new OSPI resources, cover the current learning scenarios and county by county school opening guidelines, discuss resources we can use right now for remote learning, and highlight how Safe Routes to School efforts can provide cities, schools, and school districts with tools and programming to increase school commute safety whenever students resume in-person learning. We're going to be brainstorming together and regrouping to share back ideas, resources, and next steps with each other. So with that, I would like to hand it over to King County Metro's SchoolPool Program Manager, Julie Burrell.
Good morning and welcome everyone, and thank you, Kaylin, for that introduction. For those of you joining us for the first time, I would like to start with a brief overview of our SchoolPool program. SchoolPool is King County Metro's Safe Routes to School program, a school-based trip management program that encourages walking, biking, carpooling, taking the bus. The goals are to reduce traffic congestion and emissions, while also improving safety around schools. The program focuses on education and encouragement through outreach and marketing and using a number of tools to connect families and their students with other families. Another element is evaluation. SchoolPool programs also help school communities evaluate their efforts in reaching local sustainability goals. These efforts have helped some cities in gaining grant funding for traffic safety projects. The program has been deployed in 6 communities, including Bellevue and Kirkland. SchoolPool can be implemented by cities, school districts, and schools, as well as by PTAs with technical assistance from the SchoolPool team. During this pandemic, SchoolPool has been working closely with our communities and with input from others around the county to identify new program needs. For example, we created handy Safe Routes to School social distancing tip sheets to help families still get out and be active. We developed a fun and interactive activity book for our younger students to help them learn about walking, biking, and sharing trips safely. We're exploring opportunities to support our communities as they enter a new semester of distance learning. This past spring and summer, SchoolPool partnered with the city of Tukwila, and it's good to see their members here at Tukwila Public Schools to provide students and families with easy to understand student meal access maps. This was translated into several languages, including Somali, Nepali, and Spanish. King County Metro is grateful for this partnership and ability to pivot and adjust strategies to respond to communities' requests. If Nisha is here, I would like to, if you have anything to share and add to this, would you please write it in the chat box? And at this time, I'd like to introduce Carrie. Carrie will talk about our Safe Routes to School program. Thank you, Carrie.
Hi, thanks for giving me a few minutes to share. Here we go. So today's Confluence is brought to you by King County Metro SchoolPool with support from the Washington Safe Routes to School Network. So that's right. We are excited to announce that we are forming a new statewide Safe Routes to School network. So a small group of Safe Routes to School practitioners, educators, and volunteers are working together to form this new network. And we're building off of the former network that you may have been familiar with that was organized by Feet First. So we really hope that this new network will provide an opportunity for us to share ideas and resources and to advocate for safe routes to school across the whole state. So we encourage you to sign up for our network's monthly newsletter. That will be the best way to stay informed about the network as we grow. And that link will be shared in the chat for you. And then if you have any questions that you'd like to ask us directly, you can email the leadership team, and our email address is there on the slide for you. So thanks, and we hope that you join us, and we look forward to connecting with you soon.
Thank you so much, Julie and Carrie. Carrie, it's so exciting also to see the emergence of the Washington Safe Routes to School Network. So with most schools starting fall 2020 remotely across the state, we know many transportation departments are using this time to plan for when schools do return. And we will dedicate solid time to discuss the back to school commute strategies. But before we explore those strategies, we want to touch on the current school scenarios and dig into what Safe Routes to School program providers can do to support our students and families right now before in-person returns. While SchoolPool is a localized effort across King County, and many other regions and jurisdictions have their own programs, as we've seen from who's here with us today, we invite Dr. Deb to provide us with the statewide information and resources. So Dr. Deb Lindgren is the Safe Routes to School Program Supervisor at the state's Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, or as many of you may be familiar with, OSPI.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending. As our New Year's kicks off statewide, 95% of our students started the school year fully remote in Washington state, while 3 to 4% started in a hybrid model and just 1% are in person. The governor and the State Department of Health instituted state health thresholds or categories that help us declare counties as high, medium, or low risk based on the amount of county transmission. For example, high counties are those with more than 75 cases per 100,000 people for a duration of 14 days. Medium are 25 to 75 cases, while low-risk counties are people below 25. So some districts fell below the 25, and they've been able to open face-to-face. We have another couple dozen that are in hybrid models because they're in that medium risk category. And many districts are in either medium or high risk counties and needed to start the year remotely. A fair way to describe the public health officials' perspective is to say that high risk counties are online, medium are hybrid, and low risk are in person. But really the final decision comes down ultimately to the local school boards. For OSPI, what we do is we work in collaboration with a grant from Washington State Department of Transportation. This grant enables us at OSPI to provide districts $30,000 grants. And within that grant, we provide the districts bicycles, trailers for the bicycles, 2 days worth of training, and continual support. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we've had to move this all online. So what I'd like to do is just show you a very quick video of how we've taken our in-person training and moved the whole program into Moodle online for teachers and staff members.
Hi, and welcome to the Safe Routes to School Bike and Pedestrian Safety Education Train the Trainer. In light of COVID-19, OSPI has taken the 2-day in-person training and created a self-paced online training for your safety and your convenience. The training is broken down into 4 modules. Module 1, Program Overview. Module 2, Pedestrian Safety. Module 3, bike safety, and Module 4, bike accessories, clothing, and equipment, with a short knowledge check at the end of each module. Lastly, there's a resource section with a plethora of information. For example, that's where you'll find your training completion certificate, your clock hours, recommended distance learning activities, videos, equity-focused distance learning education. You'll also find an alignment to OSPI's physical education standards, as well as the Safe Routes to School curriculum with PowerPoints, links, materials, and much, much more. So if you're ready, I invite you to come along and let's get rolling.
An advantage we have to putting this online allows districts that have previously been awarded the grant to get new teachers and staff members trained. It allows current districts and any district across the state really to access the curriculum and the training for teachers. Thanks.
Hi, and welcome.
Thanks so much, Dr. Deb. That was a great video. I loved it. So with these updates from OSPI in mind, let's focus these next 15 minutes on how Safe Routes to School programs can best serve our communities now with remote learning and encouragement. There are a lot of tools made in Washington State and beyond that are available to use in our communities. For example, here are some virtual learning tools that support people walking and rolling traffic safety skill building with our youth. So there's videos that families and students and teachers can use from Cascade Bicycle Club and Inner City Walk and Roll Center that teach the basics of safe walking and biking. The Walk and Roll Center even provides a quick dino dance party to get moving. And I won't lie, I often use it as a quick pump up. PE teachers may also really like to use the new 30-minute interactive PE videos that are launching soon at OC Active. And these ask students to interact with the video to practice crossing skills, helmet fitting, and hand signals, just as a few examples. And here's another idea. How about traffic safety wiggle breaks, where you could provide teachers with short 5-minute movement break ideas or scripts for their remote classrooms that incorporate movement with learning traffic safety skills. Some encouragement ideas could include using the Walk and Roll to School with SchoolPool activity book for elementary school students. Families can print or download the book to do with pencils or on a tablet, and teachers could even pull single pages or a few pages for learning activities. This book provides lots of fun educational activities, in addition to some encouragement. So while the activities can be done individually, the pages build on skills to culminate with encouraging students to plan out their route and try their walk and roll route to school with a scavenger hunt and bingo options to prepare for whenever school returns. You also may already be planning your local virtual walk and roll celebration as an alternative to the traditional walk and roll to school day in October. Maybe your event is emphasizing a walk to the park, a walk around the block, around your neighborhood, or even walking or dancing in place inside. Some schools are using calendars or other ways to ask students to track their activity and submit it at the end of October to be entered in for a raffle prize. Art contests or family challenges, these resources are available to help you implement one of these fun encouragement activities. And lastly, perhaps you want to partner with your local youth or school librarians to host a virtual Safe Routes to School story time. In San Mateo County in California, I know they even used Harry Potter and how a chapter where he learned how to ride his broom as an analogy of learning how to ride a bike. So we can share these ideas and the resources available in our next SchoolPool email following today's Confluence. So we're now going to break into our first discussion groups. The intent of this exercise is to share and identify a remote learning and encouragement priority and identify your needs to meet that priority. By identifying these strategies and needs, we can then help link each other to existing resources or provide each other with ideas of what to create to support our programs throughout Washington State. So before I send everyone into breakout groups, please open your chat box and open the Google Doc link that Erin just sent. Your breakout group will have a pre-assigned facilitator who will guide your group through this discussion. We're going to ask you to keep introductions short by saying your name, pronouns, and role or affiliation with schools, and make sure to assign a note taker and use the Google Doc to jot down your key points from your group under the breakouts discussion number 1 section, which is on page 2. We want you to be able to reference this Google Doc in the future. So, and I'll give you a 5-minute heads up and a 2-minute heads up when those times are remaining, and we'll circle back for a quick recap together. Great, welcome back everyone. I know that was really fast to dig into. I'm sure everyone had lots of different ideas. So I am curious if the facilitators could chat in the chat box just the top priority or area that your group focused on, and maybe one tool that your group identified. And I apologize for there's one group that that didn't have a facilitator, and so if one of you would feel free to just chat what you talked about, that'd be great. And it seems like there's some really great, I was looking at that Google Doc, it seems like there's some really great conversation happening. So one group is talking about trying to get a plan in place to support a safe commute to school upon return, but keeping safe routes to school as a topic of focus. So resources they're requesting in terms of for PE, ped safety, to support shifting to a virtual curriculum. Okay, thanks, Erin. What other topics were you all? Let's see, Carrie's group was identified the biggest challenges to communicate with schools and families during this time. So how do we move from in-person to remote communication right now? And that's difficult. So really relying on partnerships as to add that extra value right now, and balancing their demands as well. Deb has shared that their discussion focused on traffic gardens and wanting to learn about how to implement them as a remote strategy right now to keep students engaged and physically active. I know we'll talk about traffic gardens later, but they are definitely a applicable strategy right now. Chris, Andre, thank you so much for volunteering to share. So they discussed about that essential connection from the physical world, from digital. Yeah, so how do we build that physical connection when we're not allowed to be in with each other physically? Carrie in Tacoma, they're trying to understand how families are engaging and communities are engaging with schools remotely and working together to recreate what's already been done. Great. And one last group is about how to provide that education encouragement right now, not losing all that momentum that they have already, but also maintaining safety measures. And yeah, there's, Elena, thanks for bringing that up. There's a really big challenge right now with not knowing the future. So a lot of uncertainty. All right, well, we will make sure we share the resources that we have at hand in our next email of some of those we talked about, and then make sure to link your resources, things that you're going to and sharing with your community within the Google Doc. Just so we're sharing this across the state, right? This is great with what Carrie announced, the Washington Safe Routes to School Network. The goal is to share resources with each other. So thank you all for these initial discussions and your ideas generation. We are going to now pivot, and I'd like to introduce Erin David, who is the SchoolPool project manager at Alta and an associate planner. And so take it away, Erin.
All right, thanks, Kaylin. It's really great to hear all of the ideas that have come out of just that last breakout session, and I think this next setting of topic items to discuss will fit in really well. So again, with fall starting remotely, and hopefully people are falling into a good routine there, we know that also now is a really great time to start planning ahead. So what are our creative school commute strategies that we can engage with once school does resume in person, and how can we set it up for success now? Next slide, thanks. So we know that a lot is uncertain that came up in what we just heard from everyone, that not knowing what's happening in the future is making it really difficult to plan, but we do know that there will be many challenges that we're facing. And so some of the ones that we can anticipate at this point are thinking about that transportation related element, so directly related to our commute to and from school. School buses might be at reduced capacities, we might be expanding our walk zones, and if your school is supported by public transit, we know that those service parameters will be changing too. We also know that there'll be an impact to the way that our students move throughout the day. So through limited recess and restricting movement between rooms, that vital piece of movement to keep them engaged throughout the day might not be available to us. And we also know that there'll be changes to staff on campus. So whether or not crossing guards can be permitted, just understanding and reducing our exposure will have an effect on just the capacity we have to support programs. In addition to these challenges and changes that we're seeing, go ahead and take a moment and share in the chat any other changes you might be anticipating for your school or school district, specifically as it relates to our school commutes and safe routes programs. Be great to know if there's any sort of changes that maybe we haven't captured here that we should keep in mind as we work on our next breakout groups. Yes, definitely increased traffic at drop-off and pickup. That will be something we'll discuss a bit more. All right. Well, if more ideas come to you, please feel free to share, but I'd like to sort of reframe our conversation around these challenges about how we feel that Safe Routes to School can help support some of these changes. So, Kayla, next slide. So as we're looking at all of these changes, we can think about the role that Safe Routes to School can play. So we know that Safe Routes to School programs can offer tools to help teachers, students, and families work in more physical activity throughout the day in support of their physical, mental, and socio-emotional health. We can help reduce the burden on school district transportation staff to navigate the demands on busing. The more families that we have walking, rolling, and biking to school, the more space we can save on buses for students who might not have another option. And if we focus again then thinking about that increase of traffic around schools, how can we help decrease that single family school trip? So as we predict that increase, we know that there will be additional traffic, safety, and health hazards for students and our community members. So Safe Routes to School programs can start to think about that challenge in particular now. However, amidst all these other changes and challenges that we've discussed, we also wish to recognize that students may be experiencing additional anxieties, fears, risks, and challenges, from hunger to housing instability or exposure to domestic . So when we think about those changes and what those different strategies are, we know there are a lot of different things that we can build on. So today we'll cover just a few of the options that we're seeing and dive in a little bit deeper before we go into new breakout rooms to focus in on your selected option. So when we think about, Kayla, go ahead, next slide, please. And then go ahead and just jump to the next one. Great. So when we're thinking about walking and rolling to school and how we can support our families, we can think about sort of tried and true methods. So our walking school buses and bike trains, traditional Safe Routes to School programs that can be especially important in this time to help students get to and from school. They can help students remain outside and active along their commute while providing for the physical distancing requirements along that commute to school. We can also think about pop-up or temporary design pilot strategies to provide more space for the school commute, thinking of arrival and dismissal, and also providing space to play while maximizing physical distancing and supporting public health. One example of this is a school street, which came up in our previous breakout groups, but providing a car-free or reduced car traffic street environment adjacent to a school to help just increase that space that's available and navigating pickup and drop off while maintaining the appropriate distancing. We can do this by preventing or limiting the traffic that has access to that adjacent street at pickup and drop off time. Another walking example is thinking beyond the school gate. So how can we help support that commute to school? And a corner greeter program is a great way to think about this. They're community members that can champion community-led safety and will staff primary routes where kids are traveling. We can identify hotspots or locations where there might be an observed number of hate incidences or other sort of crimes against students. But by placing an adult that becomes a respected community member, we can help create a safe zone along the route at these hotspots. We can help build relationships with youth, have a go-to adult in the immediate area, and have someone there to help support youth in making positive decisions and de-escalating situations that may arise. This image here is from the Rainier Beach Action Coalition and Rainier Vista Boys and Girls Club, who have together coordinated a successful corner greeter program since 2015. Moving beyond the walk and roll aspect of school, we know that many parents might be looking to still driving their students or looking for other options, and a park and walk program is a really great way to help encourage families to maybe drive to school, but park a few blocks away and walk those last walks to school together. Families can walk together as a group, which supports our community building and also helps reduce that congestion in the immediate area of school, so reducing safety concerns and vehicle emissions near school campus. Park and walk programs are also a great way to create a more inclusive walk and roll program, no matter our scenario. This can help students who live beyond the walking and biking distance from school to benefit from an active trip by coming in a little bit closer and finishing the last few blocks of school. Can also be a great way to make sure that we're engaging children with disabilities who might not otherwise be able to walk and bike to school. And then finally, we want to touch on traffic gardens or traffic playgrounds. We can think of these as like miniature cities where families can scoot, ride, skate, and walk along the layout to practice skills and learn rules of the road away from vehicle traffic. Traffic gardens help create play spaces that can be used for PE or recess and are a great option for no contact play. And they are a great option to help transform underutilized asphalt on school campuses into an educational and active space for children to learn and engage in outdoor play together while remaining appropriately socially distanced. Okay, so I know that was a brief and whirlwind view of some of the options and strategies we can think about as we plan for back to school. So at this time, we'll start to prepare for our next breakout discussion. You will, when you registered for today's session, you selected one of the strategies to dive deeper into. So you'll be put with the same group you were just speaking with and have a chance to focus in on that specific strategy. Again, you'll have a dedicated facilitator, and it'll be great if someone can volunteer to take notes. Use this chance to not only answer the questions indicated in the document, but also to share resources, indicate links within the document. Remember, this is a resource that we can all refer back to after this session for more information and more brainstorming. We'll take the next 20 minutes to discuss, and we'll reconvene and share our findings afterward. If you are having any technical difficulty, please remember to leave the breakout room and let our host know, and we can get you set. Kaylin has chatted the link to the Google Doc in the chat box, so please make sure that you're back in it. And Kaylin, are you ready to launch everyone back in?
I am ready, and it will be faster this time. All right, here we go.
Thanks. All right. Well, I hope everyone had fantastic discussions. I know that my group did, and I'm really excited to look back through the shared Google Doc and hear what everyone came up with. But we'll go ahead and take just the next 5 or so minutes to have the facilitators give a quick debrief of sort of what you came up with. What were those outstanding items that you talked about? And so I'll go ahead and start with my group first. So my group covered school streets and other pop-ups, and we had a really great discussion talking about, pop-up bike lanes and how do we really make sure that we're selecting the right place to support the new commute to school. A lot of the challenges that we anticipated really dealt with resources, not necessarily on the expense of implementation, but more specifically, how do we actually go about acquiring and installing the necessary traffic control devices? We talked in regard to this, including, how do we handle volunteer time to get them implemented? What is the staff time needed to just help coordinate and provide communications? But then also, how do we really select those best locations to really start the program and make sure that we are addressing where the need is greatest? Some of the materials and resources we talked about needing really were just wanting to see more examples. And so trying to really highlight and champion those places that have implemented a pop-up bike lane or a school street with success, and thinking, how do we evaluate that? So not just on the school campus, but beyond. And does this just push the problem further out? And how do we understand that in support of that messaging? We highlighted really combining it with a robust engagement program. So did want to highlight the SchoolPool resources like Park and Walk Guide again, but then also looking at other locations like the Minnesota DOT Safe Routes to School program that just put out a really fantastic guide on demonstration projects right near schools. So really trying to just compile more examples and make sure that while we recognize that COVID is a difficult thing to be contending with, that there is an opportunity in this to respond appropriately and support our communities in a way that benefits them most. So that was a brief overview of what we chatted about. I'll ask Hannah Jacobell, who also led School Streets and other pop-ups, to share what she found.
Thanks. Yeah, we had a great group of folks who had different interests in the topic, but we talked similarly about some of the logistics for how to implement the school streets. And the city of Seattle is looking into administering them. They have some pre-COVID examples, but require permits, and it's kind of a long process. And so they're looking to maybe streamline that as schools are reopening. But a lot of folks are really looking at holding tight and waiting until there's more guidance on school reopenings. And then we were talking more about the traffic garden ideas, about offering some space on school campuses for students to practice walking, biking, or to get some physical exercise while maintaining some social distancing. And we, I think we'll be discussing traffic gardens a little bit later on this as well. So we're just talking a lot about waiting to see what's happening, unfortunately.
Great, thanks, Hannah. So speaking of traffic gardens, Dr. Deb, can I ask you to share your group's findings?
Sure, it would be my pleasure. Let me just move this screen over real quickly. So what we found, we had some great discussions, and what we found were that, oops, I'm sorry, hang on one second. Let me just pull that back up. Okay. There we go. How we might get started implementing the strategy is that we needed to consider what's our budget? What do we have to work with? What site are we going to put the traffic garden on? The installation, the scope, and who are our stakeholders? There's some great resources out there available, and I put it in the box there, and it actually has templates for laying out the whole thing, what your budget is, putting in your stakeholders. We also talked about inviting families and students, community members to help them. And one of the ideas that was provided was great, was that in the urban planning, you could actually invite them out to the school site, give them the turns, the traffic circles, the straightaways, etc., scaled to the right measurement, and allow them to put those in to the space that you have available, and allow the community to design and feel like they have a voice to be heard in the designing of the traffic garden. Some of the challenges that we ran into would be budget concerns, startup costs, getting stakeholders engaged, finding an individual to own the project. Is it going to be the PTA? Is it going to be a community group? One thing we really want to make sure is that everyone in the community feels heard. And one idea presented was, you can actually use a program where individuals can do this virtually and create their traffic gardens. But would that meet the needs for individuals who might be challenged with technology due to socioeconomic concerns? So we're concerned about also considering placing the garden in a location where your historically marginalized students and community members could also use it and engage in it. Another idea was, don't build it on a school, build it somewhere in the community where people come to it, and it could be a field trip, etc., for the community to access. We put some of the tools that we would need. Again, we used a couple different resources here where you can find examples, templates, etc., to help you do the whole process so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Is there anything else that I left out that our group would like to add? I think that about covers it.
Great, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and Naisha, can I ask you to share about the Corner Greeters group?
Sure, absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. So just to provide a little bit of context about the Corner Greeters, it is managed and ran by RBAC, Rainier Beach Coalition. They are based out of Southeast Seattle. They've been running this program for the past couple of years, and really what it entails is working with youth of various ages. And from what I've experienced, it's usually high schoolers from Rainier Beach High School. They went in and looked at various hot spots in their community. They were seeing an increase in crime and thought this would be a great opportunity to do some community organizing and getting folks to feel comfortable with youth that they see in their community. I think there's about 4 or 5 different locations that they go to. Each location they do on a monthly basis during the school year. It can be from helping seniors crossing the street, or working with youth, younger youth, to get to the park safely, to providing out educational resources, to various community members who may be experiencing homelessness or need access to food. So it's been really successful. It is managed and led by RBAC. I know that they do receive funding from various funders, as well as the city of Seattle. Specifically, they do partner with other community-based organizations as well with the schools in their area. I'm sure things have changed since the last time I've connected with them, but it is a wonderful program. Some of the challenges, if wanting to be implemented in your school or jurisdiction, is really to figure out who's going to manage the program, thinking about cost, and what community-based organizations you're going to want to work with. This program is youth-led, and so all the decision-making is done by the youth, and it allows for them to build their own leadership skills and future career skills as well. And I think I'll leave it at that if anyone has any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Naisha. I do just want to do a quick time check. We have only about 5 minutes left, so I don't want to cut anyone off. So if we could maybe just do some brief recaps, and I apologize, we're not getting to everyone in as much detail But Carrie Wilson for traffic safety messaging and campaigns, do you have a couple of brief points you'd like to share?
Yeah, so we talked about whether or not it is the right timing to do a campaign, whether people have other priorities because of the pandemic. Some tools we came up with was yard safety, yard signs with traffic safety messages, walking route maps, drop-off pickup videos, and some community-wide messaging about increased traffic around the school and to avoid that area during drop-off pickup time to not just school families, but to everyone in the community. And I think that wraps it up.
Awesome. Thank you, Carrie. So then we had two park and walk groups. So Carrie, Wilhelm, and Elena, can one of you share what you found from your group?
I'll go really quick then, sorry. So I had my group, and just real quick, when it came to walking school bus, we're all from a public agency. And so we love the idea of a walking school bus, but for liability issues, most likely we can't sponsor it. So we wanted information on really getting other community groups or PTA, encouraging them to do a walking school bus, having the materials available, how to find a stipend. And then park and walk, really love the idea of a park and walk, and the challenge was just how to do a park and walk in a location that doesn't have parking, essentially, that it's, so how, if it's still possible to do a parking walk and how you would work through that. And again, just materials that are already out there, not to recreate the wheel, what we can give other groups to help support them doing it.
Awesome, thank you. Elena, do you have anything else to add to that your group covered?
Yeah, we had, we talked mainly about parking, the park and walks as well, and how when schools reopen, and the whole busing situation is going to look completely different, and how that could be an option for our schools. Challenges would be getting the schools on board because they have so much to do, and also finding those locations. And then for tools and materials, we were discussing that someone with experience, because none of us in the group actually had any experience in it, but we discussed about tool sharing, again, not recreating the wheel, which is, we got to keep saying that because that means so much. And then knowledge on how to promote and connect with the school districts to get our message through. So just want to say this has been really helpful. Thank you.
Good, great. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I know that was brief. Just a reminder, the Google Doc will remain available to you, so please take your time to read through and get more ideas and connect with others who are in your group or other groups. We really encourage you to. Just in our last couple of moments here, I want to remind you that you can sign up for our SchoolPool email list to stay connected both with anything that's coming out of today's Confluence or future materials we put up. You can go to this website on the screen or use your smartphone to access the QR code. If you have any troubles, feel free to reach out to Kaylin or me and we can help you get signed up. Also, the King County Metro website has all of our current resources that are available. A lot of them we talked about today, so I encourage you to go take a look. We have a really great set of webinar videos if you prefer to learn through that mechanism too. Those are all just fantastic resources for you, along with everything that was shared in the Google Doc today. And then finally, before we close out, I would like to ask all of you to go to the link that Kaylin just shared in the chat and fill out just a brief evaluation form. We want to know what works well for you today, what types of resources you might want in the future, and help us plan for a better SchoolPool program moving forward. We'll share this link out also in a follow-up email in case you don't have time to take care of it right now, but we'd really appreciate the feedback. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions. We had such great conversations, so feel free to chat. A few of us will stick around for a little bit longer. Otherwise, you can use the contact information from this slide to reach out with any questions you might have. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And oh, go ahead, Julie.
Well, I just want to thank everyone, the presenters and everyone for joining us today. And as Erin mentioned, we'll be sending out the links and resources shared today. And so for follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to any of our presenters today with the contact information on the screen. And thanks again and remain safe. Thank you so much for joining us.